pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So it'd be pretty cool. Okay, roll call. Looks like all commissioners are present. Are there any additions to the agenda? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a check in there for you, Robert? Do you want to separate that out?
Yes, I believe there was. You were the fire district, one of you had a check, but if there is a check in there, my vote will not be for any check to class. Can I build or supply because I have a financial stake in that business?
So should we handle A and B together?
Yeah.
Move to approve consent agenda A and B.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the approval of the August check register. Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And Robert abstains. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Comments from the public? Anybody in the room? Looks like we got a few. Mr. Jorgensen, hop right up here.
Morning, Commissioners. William Scott Jorgensen, City Administrator, City of Rainier. Just wanted to come here. We had council the other night and there was a bit of a discussion about the city's relationship with the port. And along those lines, we'd like to invite the Executive Director, Mr. Clark, to come to our November council meeting and have a discussion about that because we have some things in mind. I know it's some long-term strategic planning. And I was interviewed as part of the stakeholder interviews for that. And so this is kind of a follow-up. We're doing some planning anyway on our end and what we want things to look like over the next 20 years. And we very much want the port to be a part of that.
Very nice.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Look forward to it.
When is that?
Mayor.
November.
Let me see. Is that the mayor of the city? October, I thought he's, did he say?
When's the next meeting?
Next meeting is in October, that's November the first. First Monday of November. Calendar tells me is the fourth.
Okay, thank you. Kim,
Good morning.
good morning.
As you probably noticed, Jan is not here. She would have made it, but she can't. So I'm reading a statement from her, if that is okay. To the Port Commission, I regret not being able to be with you in person this morning, but I would like to make a request for your consideration today. In our recent August community hall meeting with the neighborhood and Lignetics, Lignetics reported they were in process of doing all the improvements they presented to us in the previous meeting in February with completion anticipated by next June, if DEQ approval is timely received. There was one remaining improvement needed to complete the package that is reasonably expected to bring the relief the neighborhood has hoped for over the past many years regarding sawdust pollution, That improvement is the installation of the new hammer mill, which Lignetics already has on site. However, Lignetics has requested financial assistance from the port to purchase the necessary transformer to support the new, more powerful hammer mill. As of the meeting, it was represented that the PUD has this transformer available. I am requesting that the port help with funds for the purchase of the transformer so we have the ability to push the long-awaited completion of these improvements across the finish line. Would it be possible to accomplish this today? And then I know she'd look at you guys. The neighborhood greatly appreciates the port's active support in getting this done. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
And it would be nice if you'd state your name and.
Oh, Kim Carver, City Administrator for Columbia.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Kim.
Yeah.
Don't have anybody else on the list in the room. Anybody on the Zoom? Okay, not looking like it. We will move on to old business. All right, is there anything in the Marina update, not in the printed report? Perfect, do it.
Sorry, we have our seats. Little synchronized dance in there. Good morning, commissioners. I'm going to provide you with an update for the Scappoose Bay Marine Park Advisory Committee this morning. The advisory committee met on September 3rd. All 5 committee members participated and Commissioner Pupil was sat in for Commissioner Fawcett. Thank you for coming. We did review the Marina Improvement Construction Traffic Plan, which Miriam will talk about a little bit more. We spent time reviewing the parking rules and signage options for the EV chargers with the committee's recommendation that signs be created to reflect the following. Parking for the fast chargers is free while charging. Parking for a level 2 slow charger requires a day use fee or annual permit displayed while charging. Any violations to these rules is subject to the $25 parking citation, though a 15-minute grace period was recommended before ticketing. The committee also discussed rules and signage options for the 2 short-term parking spaces in front of the public restrooms. The committee recommended that signs be created for 20-minute maximum parking, allowing guests to use the restroom, nature trail, etc. They also recommended that fines double for parking violation. In response to this, a resolution for a new $50 parking violation fee will be presented at the next commission meeting. Signs for the EV chargers and short-term parking will be drafted and emailed to the advisory committee for a final review at their request before we order them. The advisory committee also discussed 2 new member applications. Both applicants attended the meeting and were able to introduce themselves to the committee. I will be presenting a resolution today recommending that both applicants are appointed. Any questions?
Who are the applicants?
Wellenegel Spa and Greg Whitman.
Thanks.
Oh, sounds like some good work done.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
very productive.
Yep.
Just curious, you're gonna present a resolution. Maybe we've got to work that through the commission a little bit before you write a resolution on the parking.
Okay.
Oh, no, the resolutions for the appointments, not
I
the,
think there was a mention of.
Oh, sorry. No, I did. I mentioned that they have stated several times in this group that they would like that if we have these 2 short-term parking spaces, that they want to make sure people get to use them and that anyone that violates it by parking all day there gets a citation where the fine's double.
We have a discussion.
That's for that
On the
citation.
chat.
Okay, all right.
So for the appointment, I'm in support of,
Some of an hour.
yeah, we can talk.
I'm not trying to force it.
I think it's the fine, right, is the main thing.
The fine, just, yeah.
So it's $25 now.
Currently $25. They're recommending that it say fines double as a deterrent from overstaying in the short-term parking.
And having participated in the advisory committee meetings, there was a lot of discussion around $25 a day, like 2.5 times the size of the actual park. And that not being very motivating. You're not going to get caught very often. So I think that was the thought process behind raising it up a little bit. It hasn't been changed for a long time.
How many citations do we issue in a year?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually looked at those numbers a while ago from some past data. Having dealt with that in my previous job position here, I know there's kind of quite a few, and when it's busy, we have higher numbers in our park, but it's kind of consistent. I'm not very good.
Well, you
I mean, no,
get back to us.
yeah, I can get that.
Yeah.
I think it's,
Significant enough.
And do most actually pay the fine?
I don't have current data on that.
There is an option to bring it in and apply it towards an annual permit, right?
Oftentimes, correct.
Get the-
Really?
the-
Oh, that's awesome.
And oftentimes, some folks have purchased a ticket and forgot to display it, so we waive those
Oh, yeah.
tickets. It's a case by case basis. Well, Marshall will also grant or waive or give a warning on the citation. So it's not just we write these citations and that's it. There's variable cases in all of those.
No, I love the idea that they can apply it towards a pass. I think that's great.
And we do have several people follow up with that. They frequently will say that they had been meaning to get a back.
Motivator there.
We help them out. Yeah, yeah.
Any other thoughts on that, Robert?
No, that's what I want to hear. What incurs that fine and all.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, like you said, it's not that far off of actual parking to begin with. So if it was doubled, it would, obviously, I know Marshall seems to be pretty diligent down there when I'm down there patrolling. So I'm sure there is a pretty good handful of tickets because the parking lot's full a lot of times. So it's just it's just that the numbers are going to be what they're going to be. And some people will, obviously not get a pass. So.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe moving on to the next topic.
So you could have a resolution for the next meeting. So
What's that?
now I want to propose a resolution next meeting.
Okay, and the $50 number seems fair.
For clarification too, I do think that was specifically for those sites. We have $25 fee that is our usual citation. And there was no discussion about changing that. It was the idea that those parkings, which it's up for discussion clearly, but those parking spaces being kind of coveted for a specific use. They wanted to deter people from misusing them.
Any further thought on that? Do we want to have two different fines based on the type of space? Okay.
Why don't you guys are using it, but.
Sounds reasonable.
Good.
Okay, yeah.
Next Marina update is regarding the construction of the Upland Phase 1. We're scheduled to begin break ground on Monday, the 16th, and it should take approximately 45 to 50 days. Our marina tenants, the local community, and general public have been kept apprised of the construction timeline and the work that will be done through web postings, social media, and letters and physical signage. We've also created a traffic control plan to show an alternate routes for safe passage of vehicles and pedestrians, and will allow us to keep the boat ramp open during construction. The control plan was reviewed by the Marina Advisory Committee before being sent to our marina tenants. Yeah, up here, you'll be able to see, as soon as Chris is able to post that, the traffic control plan. On Monday, the contractor will begin general mobilization, cordon off the construction zone with fencing, set up cones, place traffic signs, etc. The marina will remain ADA accessible. In the plan there, you can see the orange area. That is the construction staging area and will be fenced off for safety. The red lane is a one-way only entering the marine park with a get-ready area pulled off to the side so folks can prepare their boats to launch. And the incoming users in the red lane will yield to the blue lane exiting the boat ramp. So there's no backup at the boat ramp behind the marina building. If you're in the red line, you're pulling in towards the back of the marina. You'll do, as you usually do, pull up to the back of the marina building, launch your vessel, and then follow the blue lane out towards the northern exit by the RV park. On the blue lane, as you exit and pull off by the public restrooms area there, that will be a temporary tie down area so you can secure your vessel before leaving out onto the highway. There's a green line from the car parking lot there that you can see goes through. Yep, follow that green line. That is a safe passage area for pedestrians. And then there's a turquoise area, two areas that are the kayak unloading area. At the back of the building, it shows unloading for those pulling trailers with kayaks. And then in the front of the marina building, there'll be some spaces there for those that have cars with kayaks on top or inside. They can unload there and follow the south side of the building to the gangway. There's various signs throughout the park that will be posting traffic, such as a right turn only coming out of the upper parking lot, so there's no head-on situation. We'll also have not only construction staff, but our own maintenance staff and our marina staff that will be working in shifts, having safety gear with signage and helping to direct traffic, watch for any incidences, answer questions, and just ease any kind of pains that we're having doing this phase. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, what is the estimated length of time for construction? I know it varies, obviously, right? I mean,
Yeah.
every project, there's hiccups and stuff, but
The contractor's estimating 45 to 50 days. If we have weather issues, our materials are so small that if we have weather issues, it's not going to be a long delay. So if anything, up to 60 days.
yeah, I mean,
That's an outreach to the public on this.
Oh, yes, yes. Gina's done a great job posting signs. You might have a copy of one of our other signs that we posted along the way. This was a sign that we posted that tells the folks what we're doing and that the construction is coming and that the project is partially funded by our great partners by OSMB. And then, of course, we've posted this construction plan as well. And those physical signs are already distributed so that our visitors will have a chance to get used to it, understand the sign, ask questions.
Signage will be critical.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I just don't know how else you'd do it other than the way it's drawn up. I mean, it's kind of what it is. I mean, no, it looks great, so.
And this is that we don't really have an option on the time of year.
Right, no, that's, yeah.
Rain, so.
We do.
Not bad. And salmon season's starting to wind down.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty peak right now, yeah, it's pretty peak right now, yeah. When does this start?
Yeah.
We're supposed to have closed mid-September, the 20-something, and then open again October 1. And that's why we had planned this for the timeline of that. But it's a moving target.
Sure. We're doing the best.
Sure. We just do what we can.
No, I'm not, this project starts October 1, is that the date?
No, that was the fishing past.
Right,
Yeah, this project starts Monday.
okay, excellent.
Okay.
Have to get a boat launched.
Yeah, good.
Have a more.
Plan. Sounds like we've done some outreach and thank you for that.
Thanks.
Okay, airport update. Anything else to cover?
Morning, commissioners. Thanks. I have good news today.
Not really a rush.
Oh.
Sorry.
West Side Pavement Maintenance Project is scheduled to begin on September 23rd. The Oregon Department of Aviation commissioned a 2021 study to evaluate the pavement at Scappoose Airport, and the West Side Taxiway, taxi lanes, and aprons were determined to require seal coat, treatment, minor crack repair, and wide crack repair. This project is partially funded by the FAA, ODAT. The project will last approximately 3.5 days, wrapping up September 26th. On slide 3 here, you can see work area 1, which is the south taxiway, Bravo 4 and 5, the blue taxiway 1. Work area 1, sorry. Work area 2 will be the south bank of hangars 7 through 10, which will be yellow. And then work area 3 will be the purple, 1 through 6. These areas have crack repairs, surface seal, and will have new markings done. The port has contracted with Century West for construction management services, and they will be on site for the duration of the project. Next slide. Oh, it didn't change. I made a new slide and it didn't change, so it looks a little bit confusing.
Don't look at the busy stuff.
We can just skip it. I'll just, staff have communicated with commercial and hangar tenants by email and letters. We will be posting on Facebook and our website as well regarding the runway and taxiway closures. The pre-construction meeting is a requirement of the FAA grant agreement, and I will be meeting with Century West, CR Contracting, and the FAA Thursday to review the construction safety plan, closure timelines, and traffic plan. This will be communicated to all hangar and commercial tenants as well. And signage will be installed as needed, probably just at gate 4 on the west side, which will be closed for those 4 days. I have heard back from a few tenants, and most of them are just encouraged by the fact that this project is happening. I've had no grievances, even with the closure of the runway. So, any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And then I just had a quick update that I wanted to share with you on our new hangar building. So as you know, we've hired Brendan Clark, the aviation realtor, to represent that building. He has had several interested parties through his network, primarily for purchase of the building. And the one that I wanted to share with you is the most active lead is a Canadian helicopter company. So they're still kind of going back and forth with us on the details in terms of the best sort of options for them, either perhaps a lease with an option to purchase or just a purchase with a ground lease. But I just wanted to share with you all that there's traction. I'll say it quietly so that I don't jinx it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I just want to bring up one thing. You and I briefly talked about it, but I would like to talk about it in open session, and that's the lack of good signage at the airport. I mean, no wonder nobody knows the Port of Columbia County owns the airport, because you can't tell that from our sign. And the sign is pretty old and dilapidated. And where can we go as far as getting some new signage?
Which one are you specifically?
The big one out in front.
Out in front on Honeyman.
Yes.
Before by the RV park, because there's two, there's one by the transwestern corner,
Yes.
and then there's,
I'm talking about the one as you're entering from West Lane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look into that and see what kind of options we have. The one that is off of Moore Road and Airport Road is not installed anymore. And so we will be needing to replace that at some point. That one was removed during construction.
Okay.
The improvements, and it's still not reinstalled.
Okay.
so maybe it makes sense to do both.
Yeah,
Yes.
we reinstall that.
And I just wondered, are grants available for doing things like signage?
Possibly, I would have to look at types of grants for that kind of thing.
Seems like an SDAO type of grant.
Yeah,
But
maybe
maybe.
something to.
So the FAA doesn't offer grants. Yeah.
No, their grants are infrastructure and airport improvements, and I don't.
That's an airport improvement.
It is, but I think they're looking more like taxi, like runway type of thing. So, yeah, we can look into that.
And Oregon Department of Aviation grants are typically,
They're critical or relief, safety and stuff like that. So that's core grant that we received for the generators and matches.
Right.
They cover signage, but we can look into it.
Good.
Yeah.
Along those points, I had a conversation yesterday afternoon late, but there may be, I was talking with Transwestern, and there may be a chance for us to participate in some more completion, utility relocation. There's an opportunity with data provider. Comcast, thank you. Geez, get old.
Oh,
And there may be some interest to see if the port wants to participate, but it's too early to tell. There's still lots of moving details, but I think by next meeting, we might have some information to look at and see if we can either improve service or at least harden it and make it more reliable.
okay.
As it has to be relocated for the more. I mean, it's a mandate from them, but we may be able to get something out of it and should have more info just to know for those moving parts as well.
I'm meeting with Transwestern on Thursday, so they bring.
And they'll probably bring it up if they're trying to get answers, what the improvement be, what would cost, what can we do, and the benefits.
One of the things we learned, we sat with some of the utility folks before we did the gas line and the electrical down our airport road there. And Comcast seemed to think that there was service down and past the gate, if I remember right. So we need to truth that and make sure that's actually the case.
What Transwestern told me was that many years ago, to get service out there, they called Comcast, and Comcast said you have to get us X amount of customers. So they went door knocking along the east side. And got them, and that's how they got out there. But it's not even just the Comcast issue, but if there's a chance, I mean, once they put that road in, especially as nice as that more road is gonna be, not gonna be digging it up for a long, long time. So if there's, you know, higher, bigger gas pipes needed, I know the water size correct out there, it's huge. But let's make sure the utilities are forward thinking.
Right, thank you both.
The time, just a heads up if you see something like that come up.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Lignetics, and neighbors update.
Good morning, commissioners. As Kim Carver had reported, the community meeting with the Columbia City residents was August 27th, and self and Commissioner Ward attended. Mike Sale, Lignetics VP of Operations, was there, as was Steve Nelson, the plant manager. And DEQ was invited but did not attend. Mike Sale gave the projected or the project schedule, updated everybody on that. The modeling that they were supposed to do with the airshed modeling for the new scrubber for the modified permit. Their consultant had completed that work, and that was to go to DEQ. DEQ's timeline for assessing that modeling was estimated in the 3 to 6 month range. So hopefully it's closer to 3. And that's where we'll work with our regional solutions team members to see if we can hopefully help nudge some of that along. They're moving along with the scheduled scrubber upgrade without the permit, feeling like confident like they're going to get it because of the fact that it's going to improve conditions. They don't really see DEQ not approving that permit. So the procurement of the scrubber and the stack is already, it's in place. So they expect that to happen at the end of this year. They updated on the issue of the road move, which we've definitely tabled. There's a lot of consideration to do if we were going to change the access up to and including how do we bisect our own site with that road currently going down the middle, the gravel road. And do you want a bunch of trucks on a gravel road that's going to stir more dust, or do we pave it? If we do that, we would want to move it closer to the tracks to not, be in the middle of our site there that we're trying to market, which Amy has some leads or a lead on. So anyway, a lot to think about there, but we did table the possible road rerouting because there's additional money. They're focusing their money on the air issues right now. So tabled, not dead, but we definitely need to strategize on how the port wants that to look if we were to route traffic that way. He also updated the folks on some additional business that they may get. As you may know, the site here does heating pellets, and they could be branching out into smoke pellets and some smoke shavings. So that could be pretty exciting for them. They could potentially be adding 7 or 8 new people. They have space in there for another process line where they'll be able to do some of this. And they said that it would be a minimal amount of additional truck traffic. So more business with not a whole lot of impact on the traffic. And I think that's really good. And with the new and improved scrubber and things that they're going to install, I think they should hopefully be set up for good success here for a while.
Good.
And that was it. It was what, about 20, 25 people, would you say, Commissioner Ward?
And he did bring up for participation in that they were going to be coming to us. And have you received any formal ask?
Yes, we have an executive session topic actually to discuss. So yeah, there's been some numbers thrown around, so we can talk about that. Anything else to add that I might have missed? Any questions?
It was nice to see that there were less people in the crowd coming specifically to make complaints. And there was a lot of appreciation for the work that Lignetics has done in communicating their plans. So all in all, I thought it was a good meeting.
Agreed.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update. Okay, moving on to new business. Mr. Guy Glenn Jr. Bank account signers.
Morning, commissioners. Keep this pretty short, but or use resolution 2024-21 adopting. Resolution will allow us to update authorizations at our primary bank depository, Bank of Montreal, otherwise known as BMO. This will allow us to facilitate our operational banking needs. Details on the specific authorized signers and officers are outlined in the staff report provided. And just to clarify, the commissioner's executive director, deputy executive director, operations manager, and North County terminal and operations manager will all be signers on the bank account. The executive director and executive finance manager will have authority to maintain the account as authorized officers. My position, the executive finance manager, will not be a signer and has no signing authority. So I recommend adoption of resolution 2024-21.
Approval. Second.
All right, we have a motion by Robert to approve resolution 2024-2021 or -21 and a second by Chip. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Resolution 2024-22, appointing two members to the Marina Advisory Committee. Elizabeth.
All right. As we've discussed before, the Scappoose Bay Marine Park Advisory Committee has authority to recommend actions to the Port Commission, but may not obligate the port in any way. All the responsibilities of the advisory committee are assigned at the discretion of the executive director and the Port Commission. The committee currently has two vacancies. Greg Whitman and Wella Nagelspa have both submitted applications, which were reviewed at the most recent advisory committee meeting on September 3rd. After discussion of Mr. Whitman's interest and background in fishing and boating in the Scappoose Bay Marina and local waterways, and Ms. Nagelspa's interest and experience promoting and funding local tourism, the committee unanimously voted to recommend Mr. Whitman and Ms. Nagelspa to join the advisory committee. After appointment by the Port Commission, the Scappoose Marine Park Advisory Committee members serve for 3 years. Staff recommends the adoption of resolution 2024-22, appointing Greg Whitman and Wella Nagelspa to the Scappoose Bay Marine Park Advisory Committee for a 3-year term ending June 2027.
Make a motion to. Second, say.
Sure. We have a motion by Robert to approve resolution 2024-22 and seconded by
Doesn't matter, you pick.
Nick. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, resolution 2024-23, Amy. Dog park lease.
Yes, thank you very much. There were so many dog related jokes, considered putting up a montage video, but we opted to keep it serious. Resolution 2024-23 approves Executive Director Sean to execute a new no fee lease with the City of Columbia City on the dog park adjacent to the port building. The city and the port have partnered for many years to provide that fenced 1 acre off leash dog park as a recreational opportunity for the public. We've been doing so through month-to-month license agreements, which, as you can imagine, this lease represents a reduction in administrative burden, annually renewing that. So this is a long-term commitment to the public and our government partners at the city that we want to continue to support recreational opportunities. So that's it.
Questions for Amy?
One problem I see with that dog park is that it's working well, it's needed, and we're never gonna get that land back, so it's. Lisa Boom. Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Robert to approve resolution 2024-23 and a second by Nick. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, this one probably has a little more discussion involved with it, the biological opinion. Salisbury.
20-some.
What's that?
How many years have we been on the bike?
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
So this is an update about the Oregon National Flood Insurance Program biological opinion, or what we call the BiOp. You may have heard of that. Get ready to be flooded with acronyms. So I think the idea of this was just really making sure at a basic level that the commission knows what this is about. Because we've been attending Teams meetings on this thing for, better part of the last couple of years. And it's very complicated. I'm by no means the expert ultimate authority on this, but I know a little bit about it. So we'll start with just kind of the basics, which is FEMA is a federal agency that everybody's hopefully heard of that deals with natural disasters such as flooding. Flooding is a very serious disaster that occurs, in this country and worldwide. FEMA manages the NFIP, which is the National Flood Insurance Program. And that provides flood insurance for people who are impacted by floods. The NFIP requires communities to collaborate with FEMA to develop and adopt flood maps. So the key to this thing is all about the mapping of the floodplain. That's what this is about. Communities being counties, cities who write ordinances about this and how it's dealt with. The port does not write an ordinance about this. So we're a stakeholder because of our property, but we're not the ones who are writing the ordinance. Anyway, property owners are required to purchase flood insurance to receive a federally backed mortgage. Interestingly, the mandatory purchase requirement is actually enforced by the lenders, not by FEMA. So this whole process is, it's very interesting learning about all this. So FEMA doesn't enforce this, the lenders themselves do. And what happens is if you don't have flood insurance, then you're not eligible for disaster assistance when something happens. The requirement for the flood insurance only applies to property owners in the mapped special flood hazard areas. So SFHA. So you can see the flood of acronyms occurring. I left some off here too. So, and that's a flood that has a 1 in 100 chance of occurring in any given year. So that's where they used to call it the 100-year flood. Now FEMA's moving toward calling it the 1% chance flood. Or the 1% flood. Those are both the same things, meaning 1 in 100 chance of occurring in a year. So pretty low chance of that happening. FEMA has to consult with the National Marine Fisheries Service. You've heard NIMPs, those words thrown around. And it's under the Endangered Species Act. This is an acronym I left off, ESA. And it's basically how FEMA administers the National Flood Insurance Program, has to comply with the Endangered Species Act, which is about threatened and endangered species like salmon and steelhead. So what happened? Why are we talking about this? FEMA wasn't going through that process. And so some environmental groups sued FEMA back in about 2009 or so. And then after negotiations, FEMA settled the lawsuit in 2010, so 14 years ago, and agreed to engage in this consultation with the NIMPs as required by the Endangered Species Act. Any questions so far? Okay, good. What the NIMPs had to do as a result of that was release a document called a biological opinion, or BiOp. Which basically evaluates whether FEMA's administration of the NFIP violates the Endangered Species Act, or whether they have to make changes to it.
BiOp was in court forever with Judge Redden. Did that ever get resolved? Is it out of litigation? And
it's out right now, but it might be going back that way. So, yeah. And the NIMPs released the BiOp in 2016, concluding that the FEMA administration of the National Flood Insurance Program jeopardizes the endangered species. That was 2016, there was a congressional 3-year delay, and then there was a draft implementation of a plan a lot of things happened. But basically FEMA came up with a plan saying that they are going to do an environmental impact statement about this. Okay. And that's under NEPA, another acronym I left off. That's just the framework for federal agencies to consider environmental impacts of their actions. That's the NEPA, or the National Environmental Policy Act. Anyway, they began a process to do this in 2023, and then recently they abandoned that just in the last month or so. What they abandoned was they were going to complete the EIS before making any changes to the program. But in, I don't know, July, or must have been in July of this year, they decided they're going to implement some changes before completing the EIS. And so that's kind of what's happening right now.
At what point? What was the date? Oh, there it is.
So while the EIS, environmental impact statement, is ongoing, it's supposed to be done by next year, supposedly. FEMA is requiring communities to select one of three options by December 1st, 2024. And this was kind of abrupt. This is what everybody's upset about right now, because there was no consultation with the communities. And, they just came out with this kind of these options, which you see on the screen there. And these are what they're calling PICMs, or pre-implementation compliance measures. So I know. The options are adopt a model ordinance. And this is something that the county is considering doing. They're trying to figure out, if you're adopting a model ordinance now, how's it going to fit in with the EIS that's supposed to be done next year? It's pretty confusing. And again, it's all about this. I didn't get into too much of the weeds on this, but there's, they came up with what they call reasonable and prudent alternatives. Again, we're just talking about FEMA complying with the Endangered Species Act and the administration of the National Flood Insurance Program, right? They came up with the no net loss standard. So they've put out a model ordinance at this point, and the communities like the county are considering right now whether to adopt that. Or you can just not adopt it. And actually the default, that's why I put it in green, is to do a permit by permit. So when someone puts in a request to add some fill in the floodplain or something, that they would just have to deal it at that point, or not allow any development at all. That was option 3, which, is pretty scary for a lot of groups and the port in particular. So this is a very important issue for the port to be involved with. And
but isn't this all going to be hinged on the Corps' type certification process? If you're mapped wet, you got to go through all this. If you're not,
we're going to talk some more about that in executive session. I got some ideas about that. But what you saw in your packet, one of the first things you saw, I think, in your packet was the letter from the Oregon congressional delegation. Basically, that's what's happening right now, is that the congressional delegation, the leaders are getting involved and saying, hey, December 1st is too quick. Can we please put that back by 90 days to March 1st so everybody can figure this out? Because they didn't really consult with anybody when coming up with this December 1st deadline. So, yeah, but the issue is, if you decline to adopt the new standards, then you could be removed from the National Flood Insurance Program. So you would be in default. You wouldn't have flood insurance. And then the communities would not qualify for federal disaster assistance. So
those are an option, really. I mean, you can't.
It's not an option.
Yeah, but Alaska and Rainier are completely ineligible for disaster. Scappoose.
And basically, every drainage district protected by a dike is a floodplain, isn't it?
Right.
It is. We're gonna talk some more about that as well in executive session. Yeah, because it's all about the maps. So.
And have you been communicating with the county about this?
Yes, we talked to them this week, yeah, about it, what their plans are. So
So
they're unsure
oh,
right now because it's a pre-implementation. How much time do you put into this?
Right.
If it's just gonna be until, next year. So that's unsure. So hopefully, as I said, I just wanted to make sure you understood the basics. FEMA, NIFP, ESA. That's what this is about. So next time you hear about it, you can say, I know what that's about.
It's important to know there's a movement afoot to do away with this or move this December 1st. Postpone it, delay it, whatever. So
Yep, that's the congressional letter that you saw.
Does that put all the pending permits on hold and more uncertainty, or is it?
Probably they announced they're not accepting any permits as of August 1st. So it is on hold right now.
90 days more hold and probably 90 days after that.
Right, considering the lawsuit was settled in 2010, we're 14 years into it. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, right here. Executive Director's report.
morning again, still morning. You have my report in front of you there. It is expanded upon from last Friday's report. I did add a couple of things, removed a few. I did want to say publicly about the expenditure, the professional service agreement with KPFF that we, did I execute that, Elliot? Did I sign it? No, I'm waiting to tell you publicly and then I will execute. Yeah. That will help with alternate dock designs for the Beaver Dock as we work through the seismic vulnerability assessment. We had a really good call yesterday with agencies, DEQ, EPA, Colpac about possible funding source for the Railroad Avenue Colpa Talbot site. More to follow on there. A lot of conversations stirred up. There could be some avenues that felt very collegial. They want to help us find money. They want to help us break it up into pieces so that we can attack it piece by piece. It was very encouraging, I thought. So yeah, stay tuned on that. We're trying to figure out if we're going to get in on this EPA grant, if we have enough time to get it submitted. There could be some movement there. So it'd be nice to actually start doing something on that site. Here we are at the Port Commission meeting, best practices for employers seminar. Me and Mr. Salisbury are going to head to that. As some of you may know, Bob has an undertaking rewriting our personnel manual and looking at some examples that we have out there that are available to us and getting all the good stuff in there that we need under law. And so this will help us with some of that as well. Saturday, if anybody's interested, I think you can still get to the Amani Center Hula Baloo that's happening at the Columbia County Pavilion. Fundraising opportunity for them, good organization. Next week, we have a Columbia Economic Team Board meeting, the next PGE Port Monthly Call, PNWA Monthly Membership Call, the South County Collaborative. It's a busy week next week. Oregon Public Ports Association Federal Updates Call. I meant to say, skip down there a little bit to the Oregon Infrastructure Summit, which will be very interesting. I've missed that the last couple of years and I've been wanting to attend that. And then that same week, Oregon Public Ports Association annual meeting. It is expected that I am the president-elect. It's not a big secret. It's a rotating seat, so I will take it. And October 8th, next renewable fuels public hearing, the DEQ water quality certification hearing. That's the hearing, and then the comments I believe are due on the 26th of October. So I'm forwarding you the expenditures attached. You saw last Friday, and then again here the manager's reports. I wanted to point attention towards the internet traffic, which I asked Tina to include because we had been talking about it and she pulled it up. And I thought, that's kind of interesting. Maybe we should share some of that because, you never know if you get 3 or 4 likes on a post or how the traction is. But I thought it was very enlightening. I had no idea. And yeah, I think periodically we'll take a snapshot and we'll a lot of toner and stuff distributing this, but it's nice to see it probably twice a year, I would think. And that's my report. Do you have any questions for me? I'm glad to take them.
Any questions? All right,
Thank you,
John. Moving on to commissioner reports, and I will just real quickly for mine say that I really appreciate the manager reports. It shows all of the value that staff is bringing to the port, and it's just super helpful meeting. So thank you to all that are writing this and supporting it. And then we will just go this way.
Yeah, I will echo that. I was kind of blown away by that report and I have read it over several times and I deeply appreciate this level and detail of information. And other than that, I'm good.
And I agree with that as well. Also, I sat in for Brian at the Marina Advisory Committee, and Miriam and Elizabeth were fantastic in working through. It wasn't really a contentious meeting, but there were lots of little questions and they handled everything perfectly. So
Attended a board of directors, management staff training in Astoria with Amy last month. It was very informative. Enjoyed going to that. Also loved the reports. I don't think anybody's gonna complain about those. That's all I got.
those reports shorten the meeting and give us more information. So
Yes.
can't beat that. Only thing I had is I had a wonderful meeting with Elliot. I was surprised Elliot went back to work and work was over. Chatted a long time. Maybe it was the caffeine, but I'd like to keep that up as we're working through the KPFF alternative doc solution. So it's kind of like to stay in the loop, and Elliot's not a bad guy to have coffee with, so. Thank you.
All right, I think we do have a few items for executive session, so would you like me to read the script? Yes, please.
Board of Columbia County will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192-660 subsection 2H to consult with legal counsel. Wait a minute, 2F. Public records, including written legal advice for Port General Counsel, which is privileged. Representatives of the news media and designated staff are allowed to attend. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the discussions or deliberations that occur during this or any executive session. Port Commission will return to open session after the executive session. We do not expect to announce any decisions. Any persons excluded from executive session are welcome to return to open session when it is resumed. Thank you.
I think a couple.
I know guys that work with them too.
You're good. Good to go. All right, meeting adjourned.
It's pretty obvious.